Hi guys, Rene here and welcome to the workshop. Today I finally got my hands on the brand new Aerocoach disc brake specific front wheels. I already shown you the disc wheel I will be using for the next season. So here what I have now are the front wheels to be paired with that very same disc wheel. And they're quite special when it comes to time trial specific disc brake wheels. There are not many around. These are the two examples from Aerocoach. So on my left, in my left hand here, is the Aerocoach Zephyr with its 80mm-ish rim depth, so pretty traditional. And then for the really fast courses out there, I have the Titan, which has a whopping 100mm rim depth on there. But let's talk about the Zephyr first. This is more of an all-around option, and in terms of drag, it's very competitive with the likes of Head, MV, Zip, etc. It performs actually very similarly to the MV7-8, which I've already been using, and it's one of the fastest wheels around. This is actually even slightly faster than that if paired with the right tire. One other important feature of these wheels is that you don't really lose the aerodynamic advantage if you use them with 23 or 25mm tires. So as you can see, right now I have a Conti GP 5000 TL on there. Fits beautifully. It's not too wide, not too narrow. For this rim, more or less ideal. The rim itself, as you'd expect these days, pretty wide, and as it's for disc brakes, as you can see the rotor already on there, and you can also notice there's no brake track whatsoever. This is because it's not just a rebadged, relaced Zephyr rim from the rim brake wheel set, but it's a completely different rim, slightly different shape. As you can see, no brake track, already mentioned that, and different carbon layup as well to counter the effects of, well, having to deal with brake torque. So you get more carbon material around the spoke bed area. What you also achieve with this design, of course you can do more curvature here. It doesn't have to be parallel, so it's good for the aerodynamics and stability. And also it makes the rim a little bit lighter, a little bit tougher, because it doesn't have to deal with that brake heat. So drag performance depends on the bike, but more or less the same as the rim brake version. But the rim itself is actually lighter, so even though the spoke count is higher because of the disc, the whole wheel is around 20 grams lighter than the rim brake version, which is nice. The rims come pre-applied with tubeless rim tape. Obviously it's a tubeless red wheel, more or less a must these days, and particularly if you want to go fast, because that's where the fastest setups are. You can also see the valve here, and a bit of an odd thing that you haven't probably seen anywhere else with any other wheel is this little cutout in the rim itself. The valve is custom, the length is tailored to exactly fit this little cutout, and if you take this little cover which goes on there, it disappears completely, like a disc wheel. It's held in place by a little bolt that I have here in my hand, and it's operated by a 3mm Allen key. So this is pretty much a race day option. For day-to-day inflation, I guess you would use this with the cover off, but for race day, for maximum aerodynamic performance, the valve is covered right there, secured with a screw. This is one of the features of the Aerocoach wheels. The hubs are straight pull. It's their own design. Pretty solid, pretty light, compatible with the 12x100 true axle, as it's now standard with disc brake road bikes, and the rotor mount is center locking. just for that easier changes of rotors, etc. So this is the Zephyr. I've already mentioned that it's an all-around option. You probably think I'm a bit crazy when saying that about the rim this deep, but bear with me, because these modern rims, particularly in a time trial bike where you have a lot more weight on the front and more stable geometry, and a well-designed rim, you can go basically ride these wheels in any conditions imaginable. They're super stable. These have proven to have extremely low side force, on par with something like a 35 to 40 mil rim of an older design, or just lesser aerodynamic design. So low drag, low side force, excellent all-round wheel. Weight-wise, obviously in time trialing the weights aren't really all that important, but I've measured this wheel and it comes in with the tape already installed, and also the cover for the cutout, so as you would use it. It comes in at 780 grams, which is on par with my MV78, so no big deal there. Then if you talk about the real aero heavyweight here, the Titan, this is, as tested, the fastest front wheel there is. So no tri-spoke, two-spoke, anything basically apart from a full-on disc wheel, which you can't use on the rail anyway. And obviously it comes in heavier than the Zephyr, but it has all the same features. So you can already see the cover here installed. Also wide, super deep rim, and same hub design, same axle standard, same center locking interface there, same width. On this I've put on a Schwalbe Pro 1 TT tire, which is new on the market. It's 25 mil, comes in slightly wider than the Continental, but still matches very nicely with the rim shape here. So very neat indeed. And this one is actually 4 watts faster at 45 kilometers per hour than the MV78 that I've previously used, and also faster than the Zephyr, of course, because of the added rim depth. But looking at these, you think that these will be pretty much unrideable in anything but super still conditions. Well, that is not really true at all. The first time I actually had a go on these wheels was when they were still secret, and it was a prototype that I've been riding at the end of June, also on the Nationals, and a couple of rides prior. Obviously the rim brake version was used back then for my speed concept, and they are surprisingly stable. Not as stable as the Zephyr, which is rock solid, but still very manageable. And in fact, on the day of the Nationals it was extremely windy with gusts of up to 40 kilometers per hour, and I was riding this wheel with my 60 kilos and I felt the side force, but it didn't really bother me at all. It wasn't anything scary or unpredictable. So if you think it's not possible to ride deep section wheels on windy days, you'd have to think again. Because these modern designs really can offer very low side force, despite their sometimes humongous rim depth. So yeah. Also, this, as you would expect, it's not a lightweight wheel. Comes in at 980 grams, so almost a good 200 grams heavier than the Zephyr. Also almost the same weight as the rear disc, but again, on a course where you might be using these, it will really not matter at all, because 4 watts at 45 k's per hour just from the front rim is a lot. It's a big difference. and yeah, aerodynamics are going to win out anyway in that case. So one thing I wanted to mention, and it's the only feature that is not carried over from the rim brake version of these wheels, if you already check them online. Now those use the super narrowly flanged specific Aerocoach hub, and unfortunately that is not possible with the disc brake interface on there, but still, because you need to fit in the disc and the brake and all the spokes to the same width basically as with a non-disc brake hub. The spokes tend to come in at a shallower angle and at a lower or a smaller spacing by default, so quite similar still, but not achievable with disc brakes. Okay, so this was the first look and a couple of details about the Elks Aerocoach front wheels. If you want to know more about them, don't hesitate and put your questions in the comments below. These will go on my Shiv time trial bike, hopefully when it finally arrives, so you'll be able to see the whole build soon. And if you want to know more about other equipment that I'll be using for the next season, don't forget to tune into the channel later on and subscribe. It's all for today, thanks for watching and see you next time.